voices blending, melodies ascending, harmony in the air. Our songs are never ending. In the barbershop we create magic. Brad and John show, yeah, it's pure classic. No instruments needed, just our vocal range. Notes flying high, it's our musical exchange. Tracy's station may try, but they can't compete. Our barbershop style, it can't be beat. Oh, the harmony of voices, so sweet. In the barbershop of life, our tunes will repeat. No need for instruments, no need for a band. Just the Brad and John show, the finest in the land.
Ah, yes, John, our Friday morning intro. You know, I like to really get things moving on a Friday morning. Is that too down for Fridays? Should we crank it up more? Maybe play, Shook You All Night or something like that?
I think, can we call it Shook You All Night, or does that violate some sort of copyright thing? I mean, I guess you can't sing a few bars of that song. You Shook Me All Night Long is the name of the song, right?
Yeah, You Shook Me All Night Long, right?
I think you should maybe record a new version with the Dua Lipa singers. Maybe something a little more upbeat, you know?
That is John Combest, C-O-M-B-E-S-T, every single day for 23 years. He puts together a list of all the important things you should be aware of. You can go to his website, 20, 30, 40 items a day, maybe even 50 sometimes. But what we do is, on this show, we started off with, I'm going to throw you a curve here. You know where I'm going, but you don't know where I'm going, because on this day, we started off with...
Time for the John Combest Top 3.
And by the way, John, those are the Dua Lipa singers. You don't really realize that, but that's Dua Lipa. Why am I saying Lipa? Dua Lipa.
Dua Leper, actually. She had a disease and then she was sent to a faraway island.
But Jesus still loved her. Okay, this is John Combest. We bring this guy by the name of... Hold on a minute, forgot to turn this on. Bring this guy by the name of...
I'm Casey Kasem.
He counts them down, right, Casey?
Now on with the countdown.
And we start off with...
In third place...
A story that you smartened me up to on the show yesterday, Brad. I wasn't even aware of it until you told me about it. So I did a little looking, and then I did a little looking at the Post-Dispatch today. And today, Kurt Erickson, the big bowl of smiles from the Post-Dispatch. The headline, Brad, Missouri officials urge patience amid long lines at driver license offices. This is the story you smartened me up to yesterday, right, Brad?
Right. The DOR, the backstory on this is they shut down, as I understand, I don't think they shut down all the DOR offices, but they just shut down the driver's license for 2 days because they're going to put in this new system. It's going to make things much easier, and it's done just the opposite.
Well, and I would gather from this piece, Brad, what I learned from this piece is that, I think the shorthand from the state is quit your complaining. And here's what I got from the wait times here, Brad. What I didn't know is that the state now, maybe they've been doing this for a while, they track the wait times at all of those license offices. So, for example, on Tuesday, so Tuesday was the big day that it was horrible, right? In Olivet, workers averaged 22 minutes in completing license work for 38 customers, whereas other offices process licenses in less than 10 minutes. So what the reporter does here is he goes through and he shows which offices are doing pretty well, which offices are doing pretty poorly. So in other words, Brad, depending on how well your local license office has accepted this new software, and maybe, let's be blunt, their technology smarts and adapting to the new software will affect what the wait time is going to be. So again, Anne-Marie Moy, who's with the department, says, essentially, we appreciate everybody's patience. We ask for and appreciate patience. So to me, Brad, this just seems like nobody wants to wait an additional 5 minutes at the DMV. Nobody wants to wait an additional 10 minutes at the DMV. So everybody's going to be a little honked off about it. So in other words, Brad, just quit your complaining. And by the way, if you have paperwork to do, whether you're going to a county office or you're going to a state office, and you know it has to be done by the end of the month, don't wait till the 23rd. Don't wait till the 24th. Get your you-know-what in gear and get it done early. And that way it takes a little pressure off.
But, John, are they saying that people weren't waiting in line for like 5 and 6 and 7 hours like they had on the Channel 5 report? Was that just a figment of their imagination?
I didn't see anything in here about folks waiting for hours. And again, this is in the Post-Dispatch story. Kurt Erickson cites lengthy waits at some places. But again, on Tuesday, if that was the day where things were supposed to be the worst, in Olivet, folks were waiting an average of 22 minutes, Brad. And in Florissant, the time was 10.5 minutes between Tuesday and Wednesday.
No, they're not waiting. That's what time when they actually sat down in the chair to get their license, correct?
That's a great point, Brad. That's a great point that I overlooked. You're right. You're talking about the article is citing processing time and not line times. You're right, Brad.
Well, how do they know that? Now, here's what's interesting. Okay, are you a Costco guy?
I am not.
Okay, something new at Costco. And for years and years and years and years, you went to Costco, there was a greeter at the Costco, and you showed them your card, and you walked into the store, okay? Now they have a scanner. They still have the dude or the dudette standing at the door. So when you walk in, you have to scan your card. I'm thinking to myself, okay, on one respect, I have a problem with this. On the other respect, I think this is brilliant from the Costco people because they know exactly who comes to the store. And what's interesting about it is, think about the metrics they can come up with this. They know what time you walked into Costco, and they know what time you checked out. So they can look at that and go, oh, okay, average stay for one of our customers was 39.6 minutes. Okay, to me, I get that from a company perspective, but don't you think that's a little bit creepy from a customer perspective?
No, not at all. And
you
here's
don't?
why. At a major farm show, Brad, a large agricultural company whose cashier may not still be living off of could track you as you entered their main display tent, let's say. And Brad, if you agreed to have your badge be used and tracked, you just sign a simple little checkoff form. A company that shall remain nameless could see where you move in the tent, how long you stay, how long you stand in front of the corn display talking to Casey about these new corn varieties, how long you stand at the roundup of agriculture, certain herbicides, talking to John about why Roundup sort of type products are great, and then how long you spent at the merch stand before you decided to buy, an agriculture-themed T-shirt. And then after the show, a certain company could go back and say, people love talking to Casey at the corn stand, but boy, did they hate talking to John at the Roundup stand.
Well, hold on.
And you know what? They spent a few minutes at the merch stand, but they really loved the free popcorn stand. And then you design your tent flow next year at next year's large outdoor agricultural show based on foot traffic, Brad.
Okay, here's my question for you, and I'm intrigued by what you just gave. How are they tracking you? Were they scanning your barcode?
Yeah, you can. Sorry to interrupt, but a lot of times at these major shows, you may have a barcode that's just part of your registration that's on your tag, and then when you agree to go to certain conferences, they say blah 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 blah. If you appear in this area, everybody has signs up. Your photograph and image and video may be used in promotional materials. By the way, we may be capturing data based on traffic patterns, whatever. You don't have a problem with this, right?
Well, no.
And everybody says, who cares?
No, I still have a question for you, though. Okay, did you have to go and put your badge under a scanner at each of those locations, or they have a camera that is taking that?
I would say that it's probably the latter, Brad.
So in other words, there was cameras hidden, and not hidden.
I wouldn't say any company uses hidden cameras, Brad. I would say that if you're looking up and around, you might see some cameras.
Well, it's just like the thing we talk about with this company called Flock, and I'm a nerd because I know what these Flock, and if you know what Flock is this company that came out of nowhere and become like huge, and what they do is they market these what they call ALPR, ALPR, automated license plate readers. And it used to be that there was a small company. It just exploded. And the first one I saw, which I caught my attention, was the Homeowners Association out in Wing Haven put one up on Wing Haven Boulevard, just south of Highway N, whatever you want to call out there. And there was a sign that says, you are being constantly monitored. Your license plate is being scanned, blah, 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 blah. The homeowners did that. Okay, now the police departments have put those, and they are all over the place. I see them everywhere.
Yeah,
and
you say that when you go through an intersection, you're always looking for the flock cameras, right?
No, well,
I'm serious. You've mentioned that before.
No, but the interesting thing is they're not necessarily at the intersections. Those are the traffic cameras which went away, and are trying to come back. I think the city's trying to bring them back. But the interesting thing about it is in the law enforcement thing, and once again, is this good or is this bad? If you are, like, let's say, a felon and you've just robbed a store and they know your license number, they put that into the flock system so that when that car passes one of the flock readers, it alerts the police, oh, hey, that guy you're looking for who's driving a tan, Ford Mustang just went west on 70, just crossed over the Blanchette Bridge and is continuing west on 70 past 5th Street. Okay? Is that spooky or what?
Yeah, I think it's a little bit intrusive for sure. And of course, it's always done under the guise of safety. Like, we're doing this for your own good.
Right, but I don't know. Once again, I'm a technology guy, but I still have issues with this. I think that there's a point when it's like, okay, enough. It's like, okay. And the crazy thing about it is, once again, John's going to roll his eyes when I say this. This is the problem us broadcasters have. If you do social media, you can have Zuckerberg print you out 14,000 pages of statistics that show you all sorts of crazy stats. But yet, in radio, it's tough. As a matter of fact, there's an interesting story about this because Nielsen is changing the way they rate radio.
Once again, Brad. Hey, you know what is able to be tracked pretty well is campaign finance statistics, and that leads us nicely into story number 2.
Up a notch to number 2.
According to Rudy Keller, the intrepid blogger from the Missouri Independent, Brad, hold on to your frickin' hats here. Campaigns have started accepting money from donors in little blocks because those donors are trying to get around campaign finance laws. Are you with me, Brad, or have you been blown away by that fact?
When you say little blocks, how little is little?
$2,400.
So I thought they could do that already, no?
Well, here's the gist of Rudy's story here, Brad. So you have a limit for, depending on what office you're running for. Let's say you're running for state senate. You can accept $2,400 per donor, okay? If you're running statewide, you can accept $2,825. If you're running for state rep, you can accept $2,000. The point of Rudy's story is he looked at a bunch of data, and you might not believe this, Brad, but some people have found a way around this. So, for example, the workaround is, in the olden days, Brad Hildebrand, if he wanted to contribute to some candidate, if he wanted to contribute to a state senate candidate, Phil Cristofanelli, let's say, you know what, Brad? You could just write a check and put your name on it and give Phil Cristofanelli $5,000 or whatever the total was at one point. But today what you can do, Brad, if you want to work around it, you create, the KSLQ LLC and the KRAP LLC and the Westplex Chamber LLC and however many you want. And then you, Brad, can just write $2,400 checks, as many as your heart desires, to Phil Cristofanelli. That's an efficient campaign finance process, isn't it, Brad?
Where there's a will, there's a way, right? You just work around all the different rules and regulations, right?
That's exactly it. And, folks generally, Brad, on the libertarian and conservative side have been saying this for an eternity. Since all the campaign finance hubbub really started, I don't know, depending on how far back you want to go. If you want to go back 15 years, if you want to go back to the hilarious progressive campaign called Clean Missouri that was totally going to clean up campaigns. Yeah, that's going to work. Money will always find a way into these campaigns. So all you can do is try to make it as transparent as possible. Rudy points out that there's a healthcare pack. So like the lobbying arm of the nursing home industry created at least four separate packs, and gave the maximum to candidates from those packs because they can't just give a chunk of money. They can't just give $100,000, to candidates and sprinkle it around. So they have to take the additional step. And I guess the argument against this, Brad, is that it's become even less transparent because two of the new entities from the Healthcare Association, one's called DSVPAC and the other one's called RQCPAC. Like, instead of just calling it the Missouri Healthcare Association and knowing that Missouri Healthcare Association gave a chunk of money, these companies and groups are forced to create these entities, and then they funnel money through the entities. It's just so silly, Brad.
Ah, man, politics. Okay, last but not least,
The number one.
We started on Monday morning with story number 3. And you know what? At the time, Brad, I thought it was enlightening that there was a gentleman with a sense of humor in higher education. But I've really turned it around, Brad. And I have realized that there should be no fun in higher education. And you know what? Folks at the Missouri State University Faculty Senate, they agree with me. And I have come to the position, Brad, I agree with the Faculty Senate. It's time to have a vote of no confidence in Mr. Richard Williams. Now, Brad, you will remember, as many of our listeners will, when Mr. Williams was at Utah Tech, he thought it would be funny to go to his friend and put a zucchini and 2 eggplants on the guy's front porch after the guy had a vasectomy, and then made a joke about it. And then he said that 3 other administrators actually did it. He even signed a fake note suggesting they did it. Well, Brad, it's not funny. He's getting sued, and at least one member of the Missouri State University Faculty Senate says, we need to have a vote of no confidence. How can we trust this man to stand up for diversity and inclusion when he's going around here making vasectomy jokes? Brad, have you come around to my side that we cannot have any fun in higher education?
I don't think you have any fun in any kind of government anymore. Although Trump seems to be having some fun, but that's another story.
He sure does.
That seems to be
Maybe
another
they can appoint Matt Gaetz to do a little freelance work for MSU. One thing is, we're up against time here, Brad. What I think is hilarious is there's this piece, by the way, is brought to us by Claudette Riley of the Springfield News Leader. What is great, though, is we have a diversity member of the council who says, do you think that you need some diversity training? And you think we should have diversity training for more of our faculty and staff so we don't find ourselves in the same situation that you was in Utah? So I think this is brilliant, Brad, because all you need to do sometimes, if there's a DEI queen that you think might be an obstacle for you, make her feel important. Suggest that, you know what? I think the real workaround here is we all need to prioritize your programs, maybe give you a little bit more money. We need to get everybody trained up so this doesn't happen again. I'm sorry. I just needed more diversity training. And then the diversity queen could be like, you finally learning that that's important. Okay. And then that's the workaround.
Did you see, I know you're going to say, here he goes again, Brad's asking me if I saw this movie. Did you see the movie, the Matt Walsh movie, Am I a Racist?
I did not see it. I do want to see it, though.
Oh, my God. It is so funny.
And where did you see it, Brad?
I went to the movie theater and saw it, believe it or not.
But where? Did you go to Marcus Theater?
Yeah, I went to DePere 4, or DePere,
Oh, DePere.
46.
Okay. I didn't know if they had it out in Chesterfield. Or
No, I think it's gone now. Matter of fact, I think it's actually being streamed now. What's interesting is, and I did look this up myself, he went to one of these online places and he got himself certified as a DEI instructor.
Oh, that's terrific.
And then what he does is, to me, there's a whole incident or the whole story behind the scenes of this movie is that he goes into these seminars where they're teaching, and he wears a goofy wig and his stupid glasses, and I guess he pretends nobody knows who he is. And supposedly these are all real, and I'm going like, okay, how did you? Because most of these, they're not shot with like a hidden camera, like who's the dude that does that had his own company, talking about that did all the
the guy from Veritas.
Yeah.
James O'Brien or whatever.
Yeah,
his name was.
where O'Keefe, I believe, is it James O'Keefe?
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
that's right.
Where he had the little pencil cameras that like stuck in like in buttons and things like that.
The spy type.
Right. I mean, they had regular, full blown, tripod, multiple angle shot up in these seminars he was doing. And they're going like, okay, how did he get into those? Did he, did he say, hey, I'm going to come to your seminar, but I'm going to bring my camera crew, which comprises 6 guys, 3 cameras and 3 sound guys, and, an equipment manager, blah, 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 blah. Anyway, the whole point of it is pretty funny because he just sort of mocks them, and they don't realize they're being mocked. You know what I mean?
Yeah. That's the best way to do it.
When they're not in on the joke, and they don't really know that there is a joke because they're taking it too serious. But anyway, it was interesting, and supposedly it has the title now of having the documentary, the all-time documentary or mockumentary, whatever you want to call it, that made the most money. And I don't know if that's true or not. That's what I've heard. People, it's made the most money of any documentary ever. And, it could be because most documentaries don't make a lot of money, and most of them don't see the light of day as far as ever being shown in the theater. Now there's tons of them on YouTube because, you can make your documentary, put it on YouTube for free. But
it's still not my favorite documentary, which is Board of Education by Brad Hildebrand, filmed at the former Hazelwood High School, which you can find on YouTube. Board is spelled B-O-R-E-D, and it is a silent film by young filmmaker Brad Hildebrand.
Sometimes, every once in a while, people will say to me when they find out I do all the sorts of different things, including video, they go, video? You're a radio guy. I go, believe it or not, I did film before I did video. That's how long I've been doing it.
Thanks for checking out the Brad and John Show podcast. This segment of the show is brought to you by John Combest's book, Stalking, Harassment, Internet Trolling, A Guide to Recovering and Rebuilding After Online Attacks. It's a great reference if you've ever been the unfortunate target of a social media attack. It's available on Amazon. Just search John Combest. That's C-O-M-B-E-S-T. John Combest, and the book will show up in your search results. Now it's time for another segment of the Brad and John Show. Can you handle it?